My name is Melissa. I'm a little bit nervous because I don't do a lot of public speaking, so forgive me if I look anxious. So I actually wrote a newspaper article back in December with seasonal affective disorder. I wrote about, I'm going to be writing some about eating disorders coming up. So I'll kind of go through these slides a little bit. Oops, other way. So this is just about me. Like Elizabeth said, I'm a single mom. I'm a veteran of the United States Army Reserves. Um, I have a yellow lab and some cats. And then in my free time, I enjoy hiking, domestic travel, listening to music, spending time with my daughters who are over there. Um, I like reading, enjoying outdoors and nature, and experiencing, things in Wisconsin. And of course, I'm passionate about helping others. That's why I became a counselor. So I am the owner of Inner Balance Counseling in West Bend. I opened up my practice in July of 2024. Before that, I worked in the jail setting as a counselor, seen some interesting things, lots of depression, things like that. I won't go over this whole one because she went over it. And then I did some other private practice things, and now I got my own business. So we're going to talk about seasonal affective disorder specifically. My journey that got me into counseling was I struggled with anorexia very severely in my early 20s. I actually had cardiac arrest when I was 23. My daughter over there was only 5 months old when I almost died. I did go to treatment several times before I actually got the help I needed. And then when I was sitting at Rogers, just 23 years old, I had an epiphany moment, a calling where I was like, I want to become a counselor, I want to help people. And so that's a long story short of what happened, but I had trauma, I had depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and then very, very severe anorexia. So we'll start talking about seasonal affective disorder. And so it's important to understand that seasonal affective disorder, SAD, affects millions of people yearly and typically begins in the late fall. So right now is like the peak season for people experiencing seasonal depression. So seasonal affective disorder, also called the winter blues, is a mental health disorder that affects people during seasonal changes, typically starting in the fall and lasting through the spring. And again, I think her name was Emma, was mentioning that there's shorter light days, and there's, people are more depressed, it's cold, there's not as much to do, we don't have, time to go outside as much. So this is when this typically starts, and then once spring arrives and the birds come out and baby animals are being born, all the flowers are blooming, people can get outside longer, it typically goes away. That's not always the case. Sometimes it can last longer than that. And then typically we don't see it the opposite way where people start it in the summer and it goes through the winter, but it can actually last that way, not as common. And then the symptoms again last typically 4 to 5 months. So depression is different than seasonal affective disorder because depression can come and go at any time versus only during the season when it's winter or when it's cold out. So, the symptoms of SAD and depression are very similar. Women are more likely to be affected by seasonal affective disorder than men, excuse me, as well as people living in the north regions versus the south. And then it's important to understand that SAD can co-occur with other disorders, bipolar, eating disorders, anxiety, panic disorders, things like that. And an interesting thing that I like to say is people don't fake depression, they fake happiness. And working in the jail, I actually seen, unfortunately, suicide deaths. Working when I worked with the homeless population, I seen suicide deaths and things like that. So if somebody's saying that they're suicidal, absolutely believe them, because the people that look happy are usually the ones that are faking it, and they're desperately reaching out for help. So while there still needs to be more research to understand the causes of SAD, it's believed that some of the people with seasonal affective disorder is due to the lack of natural sunlight during the winter months. As we know, it starts to get dark around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And so people aren't going outside as much, there's less sunlight. It's believed that there could be a decrease in serotonin in the brain for some people. And then there was research saying that some people get too much melatonin, which probably makes them more sleepy. And then individuals not getting enough vitamin D during this time. And we know vitamin D comes from our food, but it also comes from the sun. The sun's not out, again, less vitamin D. So there's lots of symptoms of SAD. And again, these can be similar to just regular depression, but feeling sad or having a low mood most days, feeling a lack of pleasure and interest in things that you usually like to do. So if you're one who likes to, go hiking or fishing or doing whatever you enjoy, and then all of a sudden you find yourself laying in bed and not liking those activities, that's a red flag. Experiencing low energy, low motivation, and just feeling worn down. Eating or sleeping too much, so too much food, not enough food, sleeping too much, not sleeping enough. Sleep is very important to our mental health. An average of 7 to 9 hours in a 24-hour period is recommended, and most people do not get that. And then eating, I could talk for days on eating, but eating is obviously important as well. I personally recommend people eating 6 small meals and snacks a day. It stabilizes your blood sugars, and it can help with that anxiety and that depressed mood when people's sugars drop. Other symptoms are difficulties concentrating and focus, feeling worthless or hopeless, experiencing suicidal thoughts, which again, we should always take those thoughts seriously. If somebody's saying, "Hey, I'm feeling suicidal," take them seriously. People again don't fake that; they fake happiness. Weight gain is another one because typically people eat more. We crave carbs more in the winter. Feeling tired more easily or more often. Increased irritability or easily frustrated. Physical aches and pains, which are different from the normal. Having a difficult time making decisions. Being socially withdrawn or isolating. So if you see your family member in their room or they're not coming out like they normally do, definitely a red flag. Again, craving carbs, and then decreased libido, which is sex drive. So coping strategies for SAD and depression, I kind of got these off of my own thing that I teach my clients, some of my own things that I enjoy doing, and sure, there's others if you enjoy it, but taking a walk or hiking outdoors, connecting with nature is a really big one. If you can get outside 30 minutes a day, even if it's not sunny, I say take a walk, try to find some cute animals, birds, that kind of thing. General exercise if you're able. Stretching is a good one, doing yoga. Then there's light box therapy where you sit in front of a light for like 30 minutes a day. You can find those on Amazon. I personally haven't used it, but I have clients who use it and they love it. Spending time with your loved ones, including your pets. So taking your dog for a walk, cuddling with your kitties, eating dinner with a loved one, walking, that kind of thing. Reading, writing, and journal writing is another good one. Some people don't know what to journal write about, but there's prompts you can do. You can talk about your day. Reading a good book is always helpful, and then just writing in general. Some people like to write down feelings, poems, things like that. A big one that worked for me when I was in treatment with anorexia was using positive affirmations. So positive quotes, positive thoughts, positive mantras, things like that. I don't know if people are a fan of tattoos, but I got a tattoo that says never give up. That's been my motto since I was in treatment for anorexia. It's a big one. When days are tough and hard, it's easy to feel like you can give up. So meditation, mindfulness is another good one. Some people like meditation, some people don't, but there's good apps out there, YouTube videos, Calm app, things like that. Humor and laughing, a good joke, laughing at whatever you enjoy, having your friends make you laugh. There's definitely research showing that laughing can improve a person's mood. eating well-balanced meals, which I kind of pointed out before. Um, Try to stick with 6 small meals and snacks a day. Most people don't eat that. But if you can, it stabilizes the blood sugar, and again, it can make people feel better. Staying hydrated, making sure you're drinking enough water, which again is hard to do in the winter when you're not really that thirsty, but trying to push water as much as you can. Engaging in a bedtime routine to promote good quality sleep. Again, sleep is essential for mental well-being. Getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep in a day. Avoiding napping if you can, but doing things at nighttime that relax you. Could be reading a book, listening to music, taking a bath with some Epsom salts, whatever you got to do to get yourself in a routine. Trying to go to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time the next day. Limiting social media use and watching the news. That's a big one that we're kind of all experiencing right now with everything going on in the news. So being informed and knowing what's going on is good, but over watching the news and listening to comments and all this negativity we got can definitely not be so great. So limiting that, but staying informed, listening to good music or dancing. You don't have to be a dance expert to dance. So just having some fun with your kids, your wife, whatever you do. Getting into some good music. Again, not the depressing breakup music that you remember when you broke up with your partner or when your dog died. Don't do that, but the good fun music or the good spiritual music like we had tonight would be good. Yes, right, good music. And then getting outside when the sun is out or sitting by windows on sunny days. Again, if you have a chair in your house and the sun is shining, sit there and pet your cat and just read a book or something. And then I got some more. Hugging a loved one. They actually say hugs are healing. A 5 to 10 second hug in a time when you hug your loved one, your child, is really good. Acupuncture can be helpful to some people. I personally have done it. I like it. So you can check that out. Deep breathing to calm down your central nervous system. Square breathing or box breathing is the best. So you can check that out. Again, a warm bath or shower, which can also be part of your bedtime routine if you're into that. Engaging in a hobby that you enjoy. So hobbies in the wintertime, ice fishing, walking, nature hikes. I love hiking in the winter. Seeing the snow or the ice on the lakes is beautiful. There's lots of different hobbies, and if you can't think of one, you can go on Google and try to find a new one. Calling a friend that you enjoy talking to or a loved one. Just having a conversation with somebody can help you when you're feeling depressed. This is a big one, avoiding alcohol and illegal substances. So a lot of people like to drink alcohol. We live in Wisconsin, but alcohol is a depressant, which is going to depress your central nervous system. And a lot of times in my practice, I see people who drink alcohol and they're more depressed. So limiting your alcohol consumption, and again, avoiding those illegal substances that aren't necessarily good for you. Daily gratitude, that's a big one that I enjoy. Daily gratitude could be things like the little things like the sun is out, I called my friend, I had a good breakfast, I saw a cute deer in the field when I was driving. I like my animals, so I always go to animal stuff. But just doing like those little things that we sometimes forget in a day. So most people think of gratitude as it's got to be something really big, and really it doesn't. It's got to be something small, and if you consistently do it, you're likely going to be more happy. And to do that, it takes a minimum of 30 days to make change. So that's important too. So if you start daily gratitude or meditation or these coping skills, making sure you do them consistently for 30 days. Religious or spiritual services, you're here tonight. So if you're religious or you like spiritual services, spiritual to me is also connecting with nature, definitely a big one that I enjoy doing. So again, taking your hikes or going outside. And then, research suggests taking vitamin D in the wintertime, but again, consult with your doctor before you take any supplements. Again, you can get vitamin D from some of your foods, but most people in the wintertime do not get enough vitamin D. Then a big one, again, is attending therapy on a consistent basis. And I don't just say that because I'm a counselor myself, I actually say it, I think everybody should go to therapy just to have a neutral person to talk to in your life. And if you can't afford therapy, there's coaching or even just talking to a friend. I go to therapy myself 2, 3, 4 times a month, depending on what I got going on in my life. So I'm not just biased because I'm a counselor. I actually do it. I recommend my family to do it as well. So if you can afford therapy or if that's your thing, I definitely would recommend that. So how can you help somebody who is experiencing seasonal affective disorder? You notice your family member or your friend is like withdrawn, they're isolating, they're not eating like they used to. You think something's up, what can you do? You should be a good listener and have empathy. So having a conversation with that person, saying, hey, I'm here for you. Do you need any reassurance? Things like that. You can invite the person over to your house, take a walk, talk, eat a meal, invite them so that they feel less isolated. Again, I go back to reassuring them that you're there to support them. And then encourage them to reach out for professional help if needed. You can help them find a counselor, you can help them, go to church or spiritual services. And then again, asking your person, how can you help them and what can you do to support them? A lot of times people are not going to come to you and say, hey, this is what I need, or hey, this is how I'm feeling. They want a person to say, hey, what can I do for you? And it might be something simple like come over, let's have a coffee together. And then with any kind of depression, it's important to contact your doctor if you're experiencing symptoms, because they can turn to suicidal ideation, self-harming thoughts, alcohol, abuse and things like that. And then, if you are interested in medications or anything, always consult with a physician. And I'm not going to get into medications because I'm not a prescriber, but there's lots of different medications out there if, you're having serious things going on. And then of course, if you're in an immediate emergency, always call 911, 988, which is the mental health resource, suicide prevention, or contact your local crisis center in case of emergency. So does anybody have any questions about seasonal affective disorder, depression, mental health in general? No? Everybody's shy? Okay, so this is mine. If you have any questions, I will have my business cards available, but if you have any questions at the end, you can always feel free to reach out to me or send me an email or whatever too. So just know that you're not alone if you're experiencing depression, anxiety, any mental health disorder.